Hello and welcome. In this episode, Dragos shares his path from a student up to a teaching and research position at a top university in Vienna. Learn about his expertise in the negotiation field, why he studied entrepreneurship and innovation, and also listen carefully about his transition and why he decided to have skin in the game by starting his own consulting company. Enjoy! Dragos, thanks so much for
Okay.
joining my podcast. It would be awesome to start off by telling our listeners a short summary of your bio.
Okay. I'm very happy that you invited me to your podcast. So it's been great to be here. So yes, a little bit about myself and my history and how I got to where I am. So I started in Bucharest in Romania. I grew up in a family that's part Romanian, part German. I went to normal schools, nothing really fantastic. I started getting very interested in basically anything. I was curious about physics and chemistry and biology and so many disciplines. I couldn't even keep up with everything. I didn't have the time for it. But I ended up going for a industrial engineering and management degree at Polytechnica in Bucharest in German language because, well, why not leverage what potential I already had? And why specifically that? Because it was a mix between economics and engineering, and it would be a, let's say, future safe bet of what I could possibly achieve. And yeah, in my third year, I went with an Erasmus program to Vienna, to the Vienna University of Technology. Huge step up from Polytechnica Bucharest. And I really enjoyed my time there. Well, not just the university itself, but living in Vienna was just amazing. So I basically thought, you know what, when I'm finished with my bachelor in Romania, I will just move there, move to Vienna and continue doing stuff there. Yeah, so basically, I finished in Bucharest. I finished my bachelor. I went to Vienna. Um, I had a little pause there because I worked for BMW in Munich for a short while, and as an engineer. And then, yeah, I started my master's in Vienna, also industrial engineering, this time more focused on management because, well, management apparently is a future thing as well. Uh, so during my time there, first off, it was really a shock how different it was from my upbringing from Romania. It was much harder, much faster. Everything was different in a good way, actually. It was much more dynamic than I thought. And a few years in, I think 2 years in, I decided, you know what, I wanted to start a second master degree.
What it's not
Yeah,
enough.
and I went and I did. I had opportunities. That's the beautiful thing. I had great opportunities with great professors. I went and started joined the double degree program. It's called TEMP. This is it's a program for engineers that also want to do entrepreneurship and innovation. And this is a joint program between Vienna University of Technology, Universidad de Sevilla in Spain, and Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. So I went for well, one semester in each. Well, actually, it was more like 2 weeks in each, but the rest was online, which was really great because different professors, different views on everything, and also practical knowledge. Yeah, we were basically working throughout 2 years on one project or one business idea that followed basically the courses that we were having. It came out really, really great. Then I finished my university in 2013 with a master's degree in industrial engineering and management. I started working at the university right around then, 2011, 2012 or so. And it was really great. I mean, I started as a lowly tutor, nothing very fancy. But I moved up. I was a research assistant. I was then later I became a lecturer there, and in the end, I also started my PhD. Why not? I was already there. I was already teaching. I was already researching. So, and that's kind of in my latest years of my bachelor. It was when I got really interested in negotiations. I had a
Okay.
I had a great teacher for a discipline that in the beginning, when I saw it in my program in my curricula, I was like, "What is this? What's negotiations? Like you go to the market and you negotiate. What's it about?" And it was really fantastic. I mean, I can say it was really an eye opener, and it was a beautiful, beautiful lecture, and it really motivated me so. It motivated me so much that I actually wrote my master thesis in international negotiations.
Okay,
So I
okay.
moved from management directly into that. Well, and then kind of later I started my first lecture at the university was in organizational design, but the second one right after was international negotiations. I basically picked up where my former professor left off, and then I kind of segued into basically what I studied. I was doing courses on management, and I was doing courses on negotiations, and I was doing courses on entrepreneurship because I also had that discipline, right? And it just all grew organically. So basically, I ended up with these two large areas of mine: negotiations on one side and entrepreneurship on the other, which come to know many people in the field have exactly these two amazingly very disparate disciplines from each other, but somehow they just they just work together very well, considering perhaps that young companies really need a lot of negotiation skills in order to get somewhere.
That's right.
So I really got involved with organizations and societies in the on negotiations, international organizations. I became a member of two organizations. I was a reviewer for journals in this field, and it wasn't just what I learned. It became a hobby for me. It was just
Cool.
fun
Cool.
to do. And on this side, on this negotiation side, basically, I just moved further, organizing the negotiation Olympics, or actually called the Negotiation Challenge in Vienna in 2016.
Oh,
From there, becoming also a judge for this competition 2017, 18, 19, 20.
nice.
Yeah, is, and will be probably for a very long time something that I'm very passionate about. So passionate that I'm actually opening a company or trying to open a business exactly in this field. On the entrepreneurship side, it was also fantastic. I started, I didn't really, I inherited this from my previous professors, but I inherited a discipline where we were getting groups of students from three universities in Vienna into the same classroom and doing the same projects. So just so they can actually work together, not just as students from one university, but more like real life, where you have people from different backgrounds doing projects together with you. And with these groups, with the best of these groups, I've been coaching them to go to the United States to have international
Oh,
competitions there. Yeah, it's just so wide and so many things that you can possibly do. And honestly, all of these from one single thing, starting, well, making the decision to move from Romania to Vienna. That's just the beginning of everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wrapped up
From
in your
renting.
ambitions, you moved to Vienna. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, Dragos. Really, really interesting things you've mentioned. Is it okay to start all the way back and just jumping in with a few questions? So, congrats on your background so far. And I want to start with maybe Polytechnica in Bucharest. I'm particularly interested in. So, Polytechnica is one of the best universities in Romania, and yet you decided to leave Bucharest and move to Vienna. thanks to Erasmus scholarship, as you mentioned. So you had the chance to see how Vienna is looking like, living abroad and so on. I'm interested on why did you leave Bucharest, and would you recommend to other students that probably are thinking at this time, okay, first of all, should I experience a semester abroad in another country? And secondly, should I actually move abroad when it comes to Vienna, which is the most livable city in, I don't know if it's still the case, but the quality of life is really great. And so, you had those dimensions, first school, the academic environment, and secondly, quality of life, which in Vienna is pretty awesome. So what would you recommend to a student going abroad, experience a bit and just have fun? I don't know.
So I can only offer a snapshot of my history and what I did. And this was, and this was 2007, 2008. I moved to Vienna. So my Erasmus semester was 2007, 2008. And I moved to Vienna in 2009, right? So obviously things changed since then. But for me, it was well, it was as simple as I had so many opportunities in that one single semester, probably more opportunities than I had in 3 years studying at Polytechnica. Why? Because it was just more focused on future. It wasn't focused so much on just going through the motions and getting a degree that no one really cares. And it's not saying that it's a bad degree. It's actually because, like you said, Polytechnica is one of the best technical universities in Romania. There's no question about it, right? It's just for people that really want to do something, to achieve something, to become whatever, it's so much easier to be recognized, for example, at the Vienna University of Technology, because the opportunities just come to you. You're good at something, you love something, all of a sudden you have access. Most of my courses when I was Erasmus were done in cooperation, or if not in cooperation, then at least with some external lecturers from companies that are coming to showcase what they're doing. So you could have direct access to, workforce, or just if you're passionate about something, hey, you definitely have something to do. At Vienna University of Technology, you have student-led groups that build cars and that build what do you call those? Satellites. Yes, we have space. Yes, we have a space division that builds satellites made by students, like really students building satellites. We even have a satellite in orbit.
Sorry to jump in. So you guys in Vienna, you really play with rocket science. It's
something like that. Yes, something like that, which is amazing. It's not just theory; it's practice.
Yeah.
And so for me, going abroad was really eye-opening of how many possibilities you can have. And we all have just one life. Wouldn't it be a waste to just squander it in one single place when you can explore so much more? It's just yes, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And even if you go to another place, not say Vienna, any place, and you have a bad experience, you're still learning from that. It's not, you don't have to settle to where you were born. If you feel better in another country, just go. Up to date, I have no clue exactly a number, but maybe 30 countries, maybe, or so. And sampling how different cultures and how different people are and how environments are, you might end up liking something more than where you were born.
Yeah.
So go ahead and try. Now, to your second question, to actually moving abroad, well, as a student is really great. You have, at least in Europe, you have the Erasmus program, which is fantastic. Use it if you have the chance. I urge everyone to just go. It's just amazing. Not just because you meet new people, but you see something that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
One of the little anecdotes here that was really eye-opening for me. I've been to Vienna. I came here, and one of my friends back in the Erasmus days was explaining me how the grading system works. And I told him about the Romanian system from 1 to 10, and 1 to 4 you fail, and 5 to 10 you pass, and 10 being the best. And in Austria, is 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 you fail, and it's just one grade with which you fail is 5, And he was thinking a bit and asking me, why do you need multiple grades with which you fail? You still fail. What's the point? I never imagined, I never even thought about this. I just grew up in a system that works like that, It was really eye-opening for me.
It's competition, even if you fail, I mean, it matters if you fail the last one.
So yeah, that would be my really, really heartfelt recommendation. Go out and explore. When you're young, it's still easy.
Okay, I can totally agree. Okay, Dragos, so if you don't want to add anything else here, I'm curious. So when was on the radar the negotiation thing? Did you stumble upon negotiations during Polytechnica, or you went to move to Vienna and only after that you stumbled upon negotiations? And
that's really cool. So in Romania, the curricula is fixed. You can't change anything. You can't do it. You go to the classes that are written or prerequisites, and basically all of them are, and that's about it. You can register for a course, lecture, or whatever. No, sorry, not lecture. You register for a degree, and then inside that degree there are a few mandatory things. For me, there were, I believe, 11 lectures that are mandatory, and everything else is optional. Everything else you can choose, from large catalogs to create the degree the way you want. You can personalize the degree for you. And yeah, I just chose based on descriptions and based on what was interesting and reviews from other students. I mean, of course, you have forums and stuff. And I just ended up, hey, this is a course called International Negotiations. That could be fun. Okay, so that's how I got into contact with that. There was no prior knowledge or something. I just went to that class.
Just to highlight here, for Polytechnica University, everything was structured and it was already there, so you couldn't add an extra lecture.
You couldn't. No.
So no negotiation at all.
No negotiation whatsoever. Not even at the university level. No negotiations.
Okay, so you finished Polytechnica in Bucharest, you moved to Vienna, a different system, mixing your courses and everything, having more of a saying in what you study or not.
And more control in how your future will look.
Exactly, which I think it's really, really important for a young individual. How was it like? You mentioned job at BMW.
No, so when it comes to BMW, that was a job that I took while I was in Romania, and I applied for it. And
okay, nice. Right.
Yeah, and it wasn't long. I mean, I was there only for 5 months or so it wasn't really a long time job or something. But it was. I wanted to see. Well, first it was BMW. It was really cool and exciting to be there, but hard work. So it's not. I've been working even as a kid. I was working with my father. He was taking me to work with him, and he was working in offices, so it was still office work, but it was much more, I would say, relaxed for a kid, right? for my father, it wasn't that relaxing to work, but for me, it was pretty relaxing. But that was the first time when I went to BMW, was the first time when I actually worked.
Okay.
I worked a lot. I mean, I worked in shifts. It was 9 hours a day, Saturdays included. So it was really a lot of work, But that's also when I realized I don't want to work here. I just want to continue doing my university degrees. But that was an interesting, let's say, eye opener as well. And also, very much based on German values. Of course, it was in Munich. Of course, is Germany anyway. But German values in a sense of work is work. You can have fun in your free time or in your break, but during your work time, you have to be professional. I mean, you don't have to be sad or anything. Just you can't just do anything you want. That's about it. Yeah, that's fun. It wasn't that fun. I don't know.
But it's great because being in at Polytechnica, University of Bucharest, so you've checked Vienna and you checked Munich at a very young age. And again, another question based on that: would you recommend to students or to anyone else to take internships again abroad?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm a bit biased. Okay, I am
But
biased. I never really worked in Romania. I only worked in Germany, Austria, other countries, but not Romania. So I can't really compare. I can only I only know from talking with my peers and people that I finished university in Bucharest with. How are they doing? I mean, that's the only comparison that I have. And I don't know. I think I talk the long end of the stick because it's pretty good, and it was really better, at least from what I heard. I also have to admit I was not one of those students that were having jobs in the university while studying, so I did not have that. But that allowed me at the same time to be flexible, to go to Austria, to go to Germany, to just move
yeah,
around, not just having to be stuck because I have a job, right?
yeah,
So I was lucky in that respect because I didn't have to work. I was staying home with my parents.
yeah,
But doing something else, not just staying home and oh yeah, that's it. um, so I definitely recommend going, especially if you already had a job in Romania. Maybe go to see how other places treat their employees.
yeah.
I can tell for a fact Austria is pretty wonderful. It's just amazing. I mean, the work-life balance, it's great. You can work and everyone still respects your private life and they're not just infringing, oh, we have a project, we just have to finish. No, no, wait, hold on. You have a free time available to
I'm,
you.
I'm
You should
curious.
use that.
I'm curious. How many holidays do you have per year in Austria?
Oh, a lot.
Is that like
Something like
is
21 official days of holiday per year in Vienna, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but something like that. And then you have at least, like, that's the minimum, is 25 days of holiday
okay,
per year
okay, cool.
on top of those. So plus 3 days and 3 days if you move, 3 days if someone in your family gets married, or if you have to move the house, if you move from one house to another, you get 3 days, that are paid, and they're extra on top of the days that are free anyway.
Excellent. It doesn't mean that employees are moving quite a lot, no? Just to take advantage of.
No, but
No.
you know.
Okay, Dragos. Going next to the first master program in Vienna, it was about management. Why did you choose management? Yeah, what was your thought process at the time?
Yeah, so that's pretty simple. I was employed at the Faculty of Management, right? Management Science is called, and I've been working there for 9 years, over 9 years, right? And they have a series of courses, a lot of courses actually, and they were just looking to match people that are starting to work there with disciplines that they're more likely or most likely that they're good at, and because I showed a good interest in management during my university years, I was the prime candidate to start teaching that.
Okay.
It wasn't something I requested specifically, but it was matching people with disciplines, something like that.
I'm interested if you had any vision as what's going to happen in the future. I mean, did you have, because in most cases, even in my case, I mean, yeah, I studied engineering. It was not clear yet for me, okay, I'm going to do this and that, not even the industry. It was not clear for me during my studies. So in my perspective, when I had to take decisions for myself, I chose to, okay, study engineering, study mathematics, and it doesn't matter if you want to work in, I don't know, economics and any other field. It's okay to have a nice base of engineering and mathematics, and then you will see what happens. Did you have such a way of thinking? Okay, maybe is it fine? Is it just wonderful to study management? Because of course anyone needs management, any organization, any company. It's like a long-term vision. It was the case for you?
I'll be honest, it's a very romantic thought that you choose something in life.
Okay. That's not real life.
No. So in short, no. Long answer is I was curious, like I said, I was curious about so many things I wanted to try. When I was in primary school, I was really interested in history. Then in high school, I was so interested in physics that I went to an excellence center in Bucharest, preparing for the World Olympics in physics. Right. Then I moved to university. I started being interested in bachelor, it was quality management.
Oh,
And in master's, it was in international negotiations. And in my PhD, I'm doing stuff with artificial intelligence. So I can say clearly that I have no path, right? It's just that, you're getting from one to the next, while keeping your path open. That does not mean that any of my past is bad because now I'm not doing something that I used to do. It's just now I have so much more a broader experience on everything that I can combine things from my past into the present. And that's really great. And for me, it's actually better than becoming really focused on a very small thing that no one really cares about.
So,
I
yeah,
mean, you can be an absolute expert in one single field and be completely oblivious of everything else that's happening around you. I am not the type of person that wants to be that.
okay. So
I prefer to have a broad approach and a wide view of the world. And in that wide view, my history, my career path is just the way it is, like everyone else's unique. And I'm very okay with that. Opportunities go in life. Here's the thing. I never thought I will go and do a joint program in entrepreneurship and innovation. Never thought I will do this. I never thought I will be teaching negotiations. But now that I have, I don't want ever to not have done it.
the next leaders, they're gonna be journalists. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say it's just something I always love to do, to take pieces from information from different sources and combine them. And it's so beautiful that you have a broad area of expertise in many fields, and you can bring them together better than someone that only has one field. I can tell you there are people in negotiations that are better than me, for example. Of course they are. But they are equipped to handle maybe one, two, three, four different scenarios. Really good. I can focus on maybe 50 scenarios. Pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Why? Because I have a broad experience, and that brings a lot to the table. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dragos, tell me a little bit more about the second masters in entrepreneurship and innovation. How is it like? What's this entrepreneurship about? I mean, what are they teaching you in school about entrepreneurship? Because this is really interesting because you studied entrepreneurship and today you started your own shop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So from a student point of view, there's two big things. First, if you don't have any interest in conducting yourself and working for yourself, then it's going to be hard to impossible to do anything. So I always have a passion, and I only went to this joint double degree program with people that already had a passion and wanted to do something on their own, right? This program was basically taking us through every single step in how to plan, prepare from the idea up to the point where you're actually doing something, with lectures following the projects that you started to work on by yourself or in a group. Actually, in a group, it was easier than yourself. And you go from every university. So every one of these three universities had different topics or different core points. And in these core points, you're having a lot of topics, be it financing, be it idea generation and innovation, finding gaps in the market, and so on. I believe we even had a module talking about how to market your products at the end and something like that. So really a very broad, but at the same time focused on creating something new in the world. And this actually was important. And I had this idea that I wanted to open or become an entrepreneur because also my parents are entrepreneurs, and even if they started later in life and they were employed until they're in their 50s, later they decided, it's actually, this is what we wanted to do. And of course it's hard. It's really hard. Entrepreneurship is not easy by any means. But entrepreneurship gives you the opportunity to not be the small cog in a huge gear, but to be the most important person, and the person that coordinates and does everything. That also means you have all the risks, naturally, but that's the life of an entrepreneur.
I'm curious, there's anything changed from the time when you started and now, especially now with this digital economy and things.
Yeah.
Are the principles the same when it comes to teaching entrepreneurship and innovation? What do you think?
Yes, a lot changed. So since I was a student, really a lot changed. So since I was a student, sure, I got all the theoretical things down. I mean, even the practical on how to choose the market and how to find the gap and so on. Sure, you knew all that. I knew all those things. But what something that was missing from lectures or degree itself is the idea that you need to be extremely perseverant. So it's not just, you don't just have the know-how and all of a sudden 5 months later you have a business. No, you have to deal with a lot of issues. And in the university, you don't understand. I mean, most students don't understand that it's really hard, and you will have a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And the only thing that helps you keep going is the idea that you want to get somewhere. That is it. Everything else will be against you at some point. If your mentality is something is wrong, so let's quit because it's hard, then, well, I'm sorry, but probably entrepreneurship isn't for you. And this perseverance, this idea that you have to push through when it's difficult and actually look forward. You have a challenge, you overcome it. At the end of the day, you go home, fine, I've done something today, I solved the problem. If you go home that evening and you think, oh, another day with problems, and if that's your mentality, then entrepreneurship again is not for you. This is basically the big difference between me as a student and me now after teaching this. I can look at myself and I can tell you that through self-reflection, me, when I finished this university degree with entrepreneurship and innovation, I would not have been ready to start a company. I was not ready. Now I hope I'm ready now, because only the future will tell if I will be ready now to do that. But now there's more that I can bring to the table. Just because you're motivated, it's not really enough. Motivation alone isn't enough. It's enough to start, but it's not enough to keep going. You need something else. For me, that something else is experience and know-how. And this know-how you can't really get from just visiting some courses. You have to practically do something. And from the things that you do, those things that you do in the beginning don't necessarily have to be your business, have to be just trials for something to test out, just like in negotiations. You cannot expect to have or to handle well a high-level negotiation if you can't negotiate for the price of a fruit in the marketplace. It's obviously not going to work. You also need the experience to get to the point where you can negotiate something big. Same with entrepreneurs.
How important is it to deal with a failure? Because eventually in this entrepreneurship field, at some point you will have a failure. Is it a skill? Is it a mindset? How should we call it? I don't know. You are the expert.
Yeah, well, I'm hardly an expert. I'm
Generalist.
Okay. The thing is, I would call it a mindset. It's not really a skill you have. It's just a mindset, because just like every single day, you take a shower and, at the end of the day or the next day, you're dirty again. So if you have the mindset, why even take the shower in the first place? But it's kind of the same thing. If you see, problems will appear. Thing is, there's two big unknowns when it comes to entrepreneurship and how to deal with failure. The first one is there are no rules. So it's not like you can check if those, I don't know, 5 rules exist, and you need to check if you infringe one of those 5. If you don't infringe any of those, then you're fine. No, In entrepreneurship, everything is possible and everything is unknown. And because everything is
Right.
unknown, you have to be creative enough to go around any issues you might have. That's number one.
Right.
And this is how you deal with failure. You have to be creative. That's as simple as that. And the second thing is you need to be able to play the role of the detective. Sometimes you don't even know something goes wrong. So you need to be able to be the detective that goes around and plays around in everything in the project that you're developing to look for problems. It's good to find problems. If, and this is something I do, I also do coaching for teams that want to create businesses and that are startups. And if they are too optimistic, I will tell them they're full of something because it's not possible, right? All those, I mean, I've been to too many competitions and too many workshops and too many, just too much of everything where I saw those nice graphs that all go up and there's no possibility of ever going down, you know? This is just incredibly bad. That's just a bad mindset, right? The correct mindset is you have a chance of succeeding and the majority of chances to fail. Now, with that mindset, you shouldn't be negative about it, but you should be very aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I said a bit earlier in this conversation, I'm looking for failure. I'm looking forward to see the problems because problems I can solve. If there are no problems, there's something wrong. So yeah,
I was
that's how I would deal with failure.
I believe I was reading in a book at some point. A guy was saying you should fall in love with the problem, not with the solution, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Dragos, let's move on and let's just talk a bit about the PhD because, for example, I had Vlad on a previous episode studying for a PhD in economics in Germany. And of course, he started his own company in data science and so on. And I'm curious, what's the deal with a PhD in Austria? How is it structured? And in particular, how do you choose the topic of a PhD? I mean, is it something that the school is offering to you or just it must come from you? I mean, find a problem, do some research, and eventually agree with a school that I'm going to do my research in this field, trying to solve a problem that I found. How is it like?
Oh, it's very varied because I mean I have colleagues that are that started PhDs on topics that were given to them. Not many, actually, very few,
Okay.
because the university typically motivates people to come up with their own subjects and with
Okay.
their own topics. And the reason for that is you will never be as motivated to work on something unless it's your own. And of course, at the same time, that means you don't go and look for mentors or go for or for professors that can help you with your PhD. You first find the topic that you want, and then you find someone that is capable of helping you. So it's a
Okay.
bit the other
Right.
way around from the normal way of going to a professor telling you, to do a topic in a field. But, you know, of course, even topics in PhD change a lot. And it's difficult. PhD, at least at the TU Wien, University of Technology, is not easy at all. It's pretty difficult because you are required to develop science, and you're going from the position of a student that is just, let's say, remembering and creating a little bit of something aside, because as a master degree you should also be able to come up with something by yourself, to PhD where you need to develop a whole area by yourself, a whole area of science, and that's not easy. Yeah, on the other hand, you will have the opportunity to be a pioneer in something that does not exist,
Right.
and this by itself is already a very big deal. um, the reason you also asked me in the beginning, the first question was, why even do a PhD? What's the point? And Here is pretty simple. Austria, Germany, Germanic countries in general, but not only, even English-speaking countries, some of them, put a big price on not so much education, but a doctorate. There are positions and there are fields, for example, when it comes to consulting, when it comes to financial analysis, when it comes to being on the board of directors of any big company, that you cannot be part of unless you are a doctor. It's just not possible. It's just not feasible. So in a way, the doctorate itself is not so much to learn something or to create something, although that is the point of a PhD, to create something. It's more to prove to others, to the world, that you are capable of handling a lot of information and a lot of very high level complex issues and be able to solve them.
Okay, right, that's right. What skills do you think are mandatory for a person in order to accomplish a PhD, in regardless of what area of research?
Yeah. So irrespective of the area. So the one thing that in at least here at Vienna University of Technology, there is very little handholding. So
Yeah.
there's no mentor or something that you will go to and they will tell you how PhD works. No, you just go into it.
Okay.
And you need to be able to do it by yourself. The professors or so that you have as support and the ones that coordinate your PhD thesis, for example, they're there to answer specific factual questions, but not handholding. So it's as simple as that. You need to be able to work independently, professionally, with great results without being checked by someone else. So in a way, it's also very similar to entrepreneur, where again there are no rules and no one tells you what to do. You only have some guidelines. So that's true. And also perhaps you should be good at writing. Naturally, the PhD requires writing, so that's a bit of a prerequisite there. That is different from entrepreneurship. That's about it for the basics, and then it really depends what you're doing, what field you're interested in.
It leans more towards the entrepreneurship side of things rather than, I don't know, corporate, or because normally in corporate you have a structure, someone will tell you what to do, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, many times in PhD, you feel like you're one person company, that you have to do everything. And on top of doing everything, you have to defend your work from other people that are saying it's not good. And this is happening extremely often because when you're developing new fields, whatever it is, yeah, there's going to be naysayers around you saying, what you're developing makes no sense, it's pointless, and you're just wasting your life, right? Now, to that, you cannot respond to personal attacks, but you have to be factual about it. So you learn to defend and you learn to improve what you've done. So again, with that, failure, you're not failing, you're just improving.
Right.
To the point where you get to a point where you have some, your PhD grows into some armored research that is protected from all directions, and it's so bulletproof that you're basically saying nothing anymore because you can't say anything without someone calling you out for it. But that's a different topic. That's a gripe that I have with science in general, but yeah.
Okay, Dragos. So one question: what's the title of your PhD?
So the title of my PhD is called Machine Invention Systems: Principles, Implementation, and Limitation.
So how many years did you spend working on this?
So yes, the research for this, or the first interest in this topic, started around 2014, about 6 years ago. But my actual PhD only started in 2017, so 3 years ago. It's just, it takes a long time between the first time you're starting to get interested in a subject up until to the point where you can actually apply for a PhD, because it's not just normal enrollment. You go in and all of a sudden you're a PhD student. You have to prove that you have a topic that is a real field that you can develop, that hasn't been developed yet, and that you already have a basic knowledge in that field. before you can do anything. I've known colleagues of mine that spent a year or more just thinking of what topic they could possibly write in. This is very normal for a PhD student. It's absolutely normal. The world is endless, or the options are limitless.
Quite interesting, right?
Well, I mean, I also have, I know people and I have colleagues that just, you need to prove that you are able to master some degree of self-research,
Yeah.
and you can write and you can do research and understanding, synthesizing things by yourself. And that should be enough to actually get into a PhD. I chose the route where I already knew exactly what I wanted to do, and it was for me easier than just trying to fumble around and, like I said earlier, spend a year thinking of what subject should I pick. I also had the advantage. I was working already at the university, so I finished my master's in 2013, and I started my PhD in 2017. So 4 years I've been already working at the university, being able to hold lectures, work on my research, and do research in other projects that helped me put together a much better topic to start with. Yeah.
Okay. I remember you've been doing some work with an incubator in Vienna, right? How was it like to work with these companies, yeah, at the early stage, at the beginning?
So I worked not so much directly with inits. I worked sometimes with companies or teams that
Okay.
were inits, but I had to do quite a bit with other incubators as well. So I actually dealt with about 4 incubators and
Okay.
accelerators. And there's two things. First, they're very motivated. Obviously, they're all the teams I worked with, they're extremely motivated to push products out and just as fast as possible and steam through things. Most of the times, when you have this idea, oh, I want it now, you end up with questions that you're not asking. And sometimes they were dreading the coaching sessions with me for the simple reason that I was looking for problems. And when I was finding the problems, obviously, right, they needed to come up with solutions. And that was just hindering them to go faster and faster with the project launch. But actually, that helped them develop better products. So sure, the teams are very motivated. Most of the I even had teams that were so motivated, but not in the same direction, that
No.
they actually split up
No.
to create different products, different products, right? Not competing with each other, but basically teams splitting up. That's also something I've dealt with. It's a fast world in startup if you want to do something, but also there's a saying. There's a saying. If you wait until your product is perfect, you're too late.
Right, right.
And it's true. It's absolutely true. But the reverse is also true. Coming on with the product that is terribly flawed on the market is just as bad or even worse, because then you have one shot of becoming something or someone with that brand or that product, and you basically failed. So you have to find, and this is basically my experience, you have to find the balance between wanting to go as fast as possible, but at the same time doing it as well as possible. And my time as coach for teams like that is basically spent looking for issues that they haven't seen or they haven't looked or researched. And of course, the more eyes you have on a product, the better the product will be, whatever it is, software or service or physical product or whatever it is.
Okay. As a founder, what would be the, I don't know, main three qualities or skills, let's call it like that, to have in order to have a success in entrepreneurship?
Okay, so first, very simple, you need to be able to work a lot without anyone telling you what to do. That's number one. Secondly, you have to be able to deal with failure. Like we
Okay.
said earlier, and like we discussed, that's just, you have to have that. And third, you have to be able to manage and make a good plan. I mean, too many people get stuck into either details that don't matter or just so over the top generalized things that again they're not seeing the picture. So not getting stuck into the small things, but also not getting stuck into the large things. And this is, for example, I have a good example here. So there were this company that was going to use recycled plastics taken out from the landfill to create some benches, right? And fantastic. They dealt with the local government. They dealt with the town hall. They got approvals to install these benches. But you know what? They never actually did a test to see if people actually even like the design. I mean, this is so obvious. It's just pointless because the design, of course, the people don't care if this bench is paid by I don't know who, town hall, or approved by I don't know who. But if they don't want to sit on that thing because it's so uncomfortable to sit, you know things like that.
Right.
Things like that.
Okay, this is when it comes to individual, but when it comes to a team of founders, what would you say?
Oh, okay, so that's so simple. When it comes to teams, personalities need to match.
Yeah.
You cannot have alpha people together with alpha people. You cannot have that.
Yeah.
If every single team member is focused on one single thing and one thing only, that's the recipes for success. Absolute success, because everyone is focusing on different areas of the business.
Okay.
If there are two people focusing on the same area of the business, can still work if one is in charge. So not equal founders. That's also possible.
Okay.
But if all the people focus, or some people focus on the same things and you don't know who's responsible for what, that's the recipe for disaster. Normally dealt with people, with teams that are creating technology focused products. And in technology focused product or technology focused companies, you don't, the prime aspect or the prime focus is the technology, and basically there's no one there to do the bookkeeping or management or any kind of discipline, nothing. They're just focusing on one thing. So in that case, it's hardly ever the focus of one single person doing a company. So this idea of you having a CEO and then you have some other people that help you is not really something I've seen, at least here in Austria. I see two or three people, more three than two, that are equals.
Okay.
And they're just equally involved, but on focusing on different aspects of the business.
All right.
But they have to work good together. They have to be able, personality-wise, to collaborate without clashing too much. And that's hard. And this is where, when I said that people split up, this is why, because they realize that they cannot work together efficiently, and it's all their time, and yeah.
Okay.
So personality is very important when it comes to starting the company, and personality, not just because I cannot positively say what type of personality you need to start a business. Maybe there's other people that can say that. I cannot. But I can say that you need to match the personality that you have with your co-founder or co-founders, in case there are more.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of, would you describe a bit what's happening within your company and what are you trying to solve out there?
Great. So my company is not finished yet. It's not incorporated or anything. It's ongoing. But it was for me very simple. I gained a lot of knowledge. So through all my years of teaching, coaching, mentoring, doing project work, and so on, I mean, I developed a lot of information. And this information, it's not easy to get in specialized fields like negotiations or even entrepreneurship. And because it's rare, I always want to improve myself. And I noticed 9 years after I started working at the university that I'm kind of plateauing in what I can achieve. I can only influence so many people to become better negotiators, or so many people to become better entrepreneurs, that I want to be able to reach a larger audience. And the only way to do that is not to take more classes, but to open my own business.
Right.
And this is the same purpose I have now. It's not that I want all of a sudden to. It's not about money actually, and this is something probably a lot of people said, but it's true. I want to be able to have more people that are thankful for the knowledge they're getting than, well, what I can do right now. And this is the only motivation I have. I want to have a positive impact on the world. For example, in this field of negotiations, is simple. There are very few qualified people that can teach this. There's a lot of people that negotiate, even in companies. You have a lot of people doing that, but there are very few that can actually teach sustainably and logically this field of negotiations. And because of that, I believe this to be a very good gap. I know how to do or how entrepreneurship is working, and I have the know-how to open a company. So why not just do it? And this is how I end up with what I'm doing right now.
Right.
There's these basically three large fields. For one is the person to person, so normal consulting for issues that every individual can have, and that's one-to-one coaching, or even going representing them in their name, or when it comes to two people, you have mediation. I can be there as mediator
Right.
when, when people have issues. And mediation sounds something that you're only doing when you're having a divorce or something, but actually it's very common. Mediation is something you see in companies a lot.
Yeah.
When people work together for many hours and their personalities don't match, you end up with a huge mess on your hands. And yeah, that's where I could come in and help. Or on the business side, or if you go larger, I plan on offering programs on developing whole divisions inside companies, on how to either negotiate better or organize them. Because don't forget, my background is organization, so I can do both at the same time. And this is what I was. This actually goes very nice with what I said in the beginning. Don't just focus on one thing. Be more of a generalist. Why? Because you can match them, you can mix them, and you can achieve more. I can go in a company, have them create better processes inside the company, organize them in a better way, make sure that the climate inside the companies, or the organizational climate and the organizational field is going properly, and then teach them how to handle with other companies and other people outside the company. So
Excellent. And how is it so far? What would be some challenges you have, especially now with this crazy times? I mean, what would be the main difficulties when it comes to starting something on your own?
Well, first off, the word "on your own." Yeah, that's the first challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to start something by yourself. It's much easier to start as a team. The thing is, in this field, or what I'm trying to do, consultancy in this specific area, like I said, there are too few people that can help me with this. So I have to start it by myself. Of course, then at least I don't have to worry about people that are not trustworthy, or colleagues that are stealing ideas or anything like that. That's on one side. On the other hand, it's kind of complicated because you don't know, even after a lot of years, what do you need to do first. Basically, everything is burning, everything you need to do at the same time. And the faster you start, the quicker you can get out there. There is an advantage, and the advantage here is called, I'm sorry to say this, but Corona. Because of Corona, it's so much easier, and the world became so much more open towards online courses, online challenge, online anything, that it's just easier now to start a business where you consult or teach people.
Right. With all of these media outlets, things are very, very bad. And okay, you know what? It might be a nice thing we have this. We can start businesses. We can we can do things.
This is. I have no clue who said this, but adversity sparks opportunity.
Nicely said. Yeah.
It's beautifully said. It's true. Yeah, you always have to look, and this is probably you have to be a bit optimistic as well. Be positive about what you want to do. If you only get stuck into issues and problems, that of course you're not gonna get very far, because your attitude makes a big difference in entrepreneurship.
In these crazy times, we actually see the opportunity, right? I mean, boutique consulting.
I just want to, it's not about, and I want to make a comment here. The fact that I'm doing this for negotiations and also handling other things, but typically negotiations, is for the simple reason that this is a field that first has a large impact on everyone's life, more than they believe, number one. And the second thing, there's very few people that can actually teach this. Again, in Austria, there's fewer than 4 people that can teach this.
Oh.
University of Vienna had, well, they asked me if I can teach this at University of Vienna. I told them I can't, I don't have the capacity to do it. They had to fly someone from Japan to teach it. Yes, so there's no people around in this. There's too few people that can actually do this. Of course, a lot of people can talk about their experience and what they've done, but that's a different thing. You cannot go from someone that does this for a living to someone that gives others the knowledge and the motivation and the desire to understand or to learn this in a more deep way, in a deeper way. And because of that, I've been an academic advisor for a business negotiation club at the United Nations as well. For the same reason, because it's just what I love doing. It's a hobby, and at the same time, also what I want to do as a business.
Okay, Dragos, quick question: do you think it's a good thing? I mean, because it's something so rare. Does it mean you have to educate somehow the market? Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
So this is hard because most people don't associate negotiation with a real topic that you would learn. It's really hard, and that means they also don't search for it. They're not searching for opportunities in this. Now, it's kind of the same way as with crossing the street. You can have a street crossing sign, or you can have a stoplight. Obviously, with the stoplight is more efficient, less risks. Kind of the same way with this. You can negotiate by yourself, but you probably would do better if you have knowledge in this field. But my problem still remains. It's hard to find people. They're not coming to you. Because they don't know what to search in the first place. But once they hear what you can achieve through this, through real negotiations, and I'm not talking about price negotiations. Those are one of the lowest, easiest things you could possibly negotiate for. I mean, more complex than price negotiations would be negotiating a marriage. That is far harder than negotiating the price. It's true. It's absolutely true. Or negotiating for the climate change. I mean, it's big topics, right? Yeah. Once they learn, they all want it. It's something. I've been to classes. I had introductory classes where everyone can join, and they don't have to pre-apply or something. And from 70 people attending, 50 decide to take a course that is over 24 hours long and with about 70 hours of assignments and homeworks, and they all want to do it. Why? Because they realize after 30 minutes of introduction that this is something they can actually benefit their whole life from. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it means you're gonna have to find a way how to translate this in such a way to...
You can, if you're creative and you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you definitely have ways to reach audiences. For example, right? You go to to competitions with entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of those out there, hackathons, for example, or anything. And you start, pitching. Hey, what you could benefit the most from? This. Or you can do it even the free way. Well, actually, not very free. You can create groups on Meetup or
Yeah.
Eventbrite, and people will definitely see those events. They're online, of course, because it's very simple. And there you go, you get people involved. And not necessarily this direct form of marketing where you advertise on Facebook or whatever social media, because that in something as the niche as this is kind of professional field, you won't really get that many people there from the regular, let's say regular channels. But yeah, be creative and you can definitely get to something.
Right. Okay, Dragos. I don't know if I've missed anything. Do you have any words of wisdom to throw them out there?
Well, actually, yes, a few. First off, I have to say that everything I have done so far, okay, maybe I have done far less than others, maybe I have done far more than others. I don't know, I'm somewhere. But everything that I have achieved because if I start doing something, I want to do it right. I don't want to waste my time just trying something out without, giving interest. I
Right.
am interested in everything I do because my time is valuable. And if my time is valuable, that translates in other people seeing that. In a world where everything is done halfway or 80%, me coming with 90% of 95%, it makes a difference. It makes someone decide to work with me or to interact with me. Why? Because I offer something that everyone else doesn't have. It's a very nice, again with the sayings, but it's a very nice, actually it's mathematics, it's nothing else. If you take 0.99 or
Yeah.
99% to the power of 365,
Yeah.
it's basically nothing. But if you get 101, 1.01 at the power of 365 is
Yeah.
30 something. So all of a sudden, there's a huge difference in 2%. So the first thing, my time is important. I will not do things halfway. And the second thing is once you decide you agree to do something, keep your word no matter how difficult it is. Your word is the most important asset you have. Not the money, not the knowledge, nothing. Your word. You give your word, you keep your word. It doesn't mean no, the world has enough people complaining about how difficult it is or how many excuses you could possibly come out with. Yes, you could possibly come up with excuses for everything. But that's not the point. The point is for to actually do something. And yes, because of that, I had nights where I slept less or at all. But hey, I got somewhere with that. So yeah,
Right. Right. Um,
everything that I have talked to happened in the last 14 years. You can do a lot with your time. A lot of people, I heard a lot of people say their life is too short, everything moves too fast. I don't know where are these people living because, of course, I don't have time either. But if I look back at every single week, I can look back at every single week and I have a lot of things that I'm doing, you know? But I also have to agree, I also say no to a lot of things. I don't just go and do everything. I don't. And I'm the type of character that prefers to do hard work now for future benefits rather than being instantly gratified to watch a movie or something now.
exactly.
So
And instant gratification as opposite to delayed gratification. I think
yes,
it's very important for each individual, but especially for entrepreneurs. And
absolutely, absolutely. Being able to say no to things and do hard things first and easy things later is much better, much better. And most of the times I noticed, even among my colleagues at the university, this mindset gets you places because you're getting that extra 1 or 2% that other people don't have. So among 20 people that do about the same type of work, people, for example, in coaching entrepreneurship, people preferred me because I was the toughest. I was the one that came up with the biggest issues, right? The
yeah,
biggest problems. But then and of course they hated me at the time, but when they started, when they actually launched, they were the happiest people that they had me. Why? Because, well, I helped them figure out issues that no one would have said. So not going for the, the easiest or the best or the friendliest coach or friendliest person around. No, surround yourself with people that are saying no to you, that are being not negative, but that are being honest. I know it's a problem, so I will say something, not just be quiet because I don't want to lose face or create issues for other people.
Looking back, Dragos, so first of all, you are speaking with a millennial right now. So you give lots of advice, yeah, to companies and all these individuals, entrepreneurs, and so on. But what about you? Did you have any mentors? Did you have any people reaching out to when you had some difficult times?
So it's really important to have someone to go to and talk to. But it's also very easy. And I'll tell you my story just in a bit. But before that, I want to be very clear. It's important to have a mentor or someone that can help you, but it is also very easy to overdo it, to just go for every little thing you have a problem, you just go to them. No, this is bad.
Yeah.
You need to be able to work by yourself for yourself and only go to them if everything else fails.
Okay.
That is the right approach.
Okay.
Otherwise, your work will not be your own. And once you don't have a mentor anymore, you will not know what to do anymore because every single time you had issues, you would go into the mentor. Now, in my life, I had a lot of mentors. Most of them very specialized, very technical. For I have an issue for the specific issue, and I was going to specific people. I typically searched them, I looked for them. So it wasn't by default that I was automatically mentored or something. But for the most part, if I'm curious about something, I do my own research and I learn by myself. And I'm not afraid of learning. I love learning. I believe I will learn my whole life every single day. I met people that were like, oh, I finished university, finally I don't have to learn anything my whole life
Wow.
anymore. And I'm thinking, what
I'm
is
free.
wrong with you? What is wrong? I mean, if I go a day without learning something new, I feel I wasted a day of my life. you know um I work a lot by myself, and this helps me develop more than just by having mentors around. That doesn't mean they're not important, but probably not very important, or not as important as your own desire to become something in life.
Excellent. And how do you stay up to date and just continue improving your skills and you as an individual?
So when it comes to both entrepreneurship and negotiations and management, um, I mentioned earlier I'm part of organizations that meet regularly. I am part of. I have a network of people in entrepreneurship that I keep in touch with. I get invited to events online now more than offline. So basically, I am part of a network in
Right.
both fields that allow me to be up to date with information without being polluted by information that is not important to me. Yeah. So my information does not come from, very little of my information comes from third parties like, I don't know, news articles, media, and so on. Most of it is firsthand information from people that are actually doing that in
Right.
these fields, at least.
Right. So staying in a nice community with like-minded people, it's always
Yes.
a great idea.
Yes. That
Yeah.
are global, that are global, not
Oh,
just local.
global. Yeah, it's really important to be connected, not just with one location. Let it be, I don't know, Europe or US. You have to be connected like globally, like you said, especially
Yes,
in business. Well, it's
correct.
um, lots of experiences, lots of work ahead. How was it like in terms of stress and work-life balance? I mean, do you have any mechanisms in place just to cope with all this stress?
Yes, this is something I have been dealing with for a very long time. In a way that it's, my life got busier every single year. And with life getting busier, I've been doing courses on time management, project management, how to make a good life balance. It's difficult. After reading and coming up with so many different plans and tables and Kanban and so on and so forth. Yes, yeah. Like I used Trello. I used so many different things. I ended up with the simplest thing, something I built by myself. I took the informations and I built a plan that works for me. Now, it's something is based on the idea that to-do lists help no one unless that to-do is actually scheduled in your calendar. If it's scheduled in your calendar, it's good because that is actionable. You have to do it. It's based on your calendar. So basically, my one tool that I have is my Google Calendar that is basically filled with all different colors of the rainbow. And there is where I basically plan my life. I use it for everything. It's working. A lot of times I have too many things to do in a day. That is natural. Um, but but in time, I've been using this idea or this plan for 2 years now, and it's working. It's full. It's all the time I have something to do. For some people, this will not work because they like to be surprised and they like to be flexible and so on. I cannot work with flexible. I have to have structure in my life. I have too many things that I want to accomplish to have the free time to just not do anything. But I'm not stressed. And the reason for which I'm not stressed is not because I don't have anything to do, because I do, I am full of things to do. But everything that I do because it's fun, not because I have to.
Right.
It's fun to open a company. It's fun to work at the university. It's fun to teach. It's fun to just, be meet with people from all over the world. It's fun. And as long as you treat your work and as long as you treat your life as something fun, everything will seem fun. It's not a chore. And this is how I basically run my day-to-day life. And of course, I said earlier, I do say a lot of no. So no, I cannot, no, I don't have the time, or just no. And not because I want to be mean to people, it's just because I only have that much time. And at the end of the day, I want to feel good about what I achieved in a day.
Okay, Dragos. Thanks so much for being so candid on my podcast. Stay in touch. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me.